Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopikanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapte Kanchan Gourangi Radhe Vrindaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chev Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की जय। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा जय।
हरे कृष्णा किरण जी, हरे कृष्णा रीना जी।
हरे कृष्णा भैया, हरे कृष्णा अजय।
Krishna. All right, so we had a break for 1 week last week, and so we are right now reading श्लोक 30th of chapter 1st, right? So last week हमने canto 5 शुरू किया and started reading chapter 1, and chapter 1 is about the activities of Mahārāja Priyavrata, yeah, and Mahārāja Priyavrata is son of, whose son is Mahārāja Priyavrata?
उत्तानपद।
No, Uttanpad is brother of Mahārāja Priyavrata.
ध्रुव?
No, so Dhruv Maharaj is a
Uttanpad's son, right?
yeah, right. Dhruv Maharaj is son of Uttanpad, and Priyavrata Maharaj is actually elder brother of Maharaj Uttanpad.
I see.
Once Maharaj Uttanpad, and then we read about Maharaj Prithu and then Prachetas, right? Or in Maharaj Uttanpad's descendants, we read finally about Prachetas, who did tapasya for 10,000 years, right? If you remember, so we did that. And Maharaj Uttanpad was son of whom? So Shambhu Manu, right? So Maharaj Uttanpad, and similarly Maharaj Priyavrata is also son of Shambhu Manu. Shambhu Manu is the first Manu in this day of Lord Brahma. Yeah. So we read about descendants of Maharaj Uttanpad. And in this chapter, we are reading that Maharaj Priyavrata didn't really want to take the kingdom. Right? He is like just totally devoted to Lord Sri Krishna and totally into devotional service. But Shambhu Manu wanted Maharaj Priyavrata to take up the kingdom, and he didn't want to take it. So Shambhu Manu requested Lord Brahma to come and explain it to Maharaj Priyavrata. So in the last chapter, we are reading that Lord Brahma himself came, right? And then he gave this message to Maharaj Priyavrata that you need to take up this kingdom, right? Because my Lord Brahma is also interested in expanding this universe and maintaining this universe, right? So then Maharaj Priyavrata agreed to take this on, right? And Guru of Maharaj Priyavrata is Narad Muni. So he got so much into devotional service because of also his Guru Dev is Narad Muni. Yeah. So that's what we are reading. And so what we read last, once Maharaj Priyavrata agrees to take on the kingdom, right? Then he is ruling this universe, and we read that while so excellently ruling this universe, King Priyavrata once became dissatisfied with the circumvallation of the most powerful sun god. Encircling Sumeru hill on his chariot, the sun god illuminates all the surrounding planetary systems. However, when the sun is on the northern side of the hill, the south receives less light. And when the sun is on the south, the north receives less. King Priyavrata disliked this situation and therefore decided to make daylight in the part of the universe where there was night. He followed the orbit of the sun god on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. So as you can see, Maharaj Priyavrata, being the highest devotee, he was so powerful that he even managed to, do the daylight in the other part of the universe where there was night. Yeah. And how did he do it? He followed the orbit of the sun god on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. He could perform such wonderful activities because of the power he had achieved by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So when we read like people are so much powerful, by doing devotional service, like we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam, even Priyavrata Mahārāja was so powerful that he can even, follow the chariot, follow the sun in the chariot, right? So that's what we were reading last week. So we'll continue with the Shlok 31st. Let's read this, Ajay.
ये वा ऊह तदत तद चरण नेमि कृतप रिखातास्ते सप्त सिंधौ आसन यत एव कृता सप्त भुवो द्वीपा. When Priyavrata drove his chariot behind the sun, the rims of his chariot wheels created an impression that later became 7 oceans, dividing the planetary systems known as Bhumandal into 7 islands. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So as we can see, when Maharaj Priyavrata was following the sun in his chariot, what happened? The rims of his chariot wheel created impressions that later became 7 oceans. Sapta Sindhava, yeah. Tad Rat Charana, yeah, created Sapta Sindhav Asana. Yeah, dividing the planetary system known as Bhumandal. Bhumandal is the Prithvi Lok. Out of the 14 planets, Bhumandal is the Prithvi Lok. Divided that into 7 islands. Yeah, Saptadvip. And let's read the purport, Rinaji.
Sometimes the planets in outer space are called islands. We have experience of various types of island in the ocean, and similarly the various planets divided into 14 lokas are islands in the ocean of space. As Priyavrata drove his chariot behind the sun, he created 7 different types of oceans and planetary systems, which altogether are known as Bhumandal or Bhulok. In the Gayatri Mantra, we chant Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tat Saviturvarenyam. Above the Bhulok planetary system is Bhuvarlok, and above that is Svarglok, the heavenly planetary system. All these planetary systems are controlled by Savita, the sun god. By chanting the Gayatri Mantra just after rising early in the morning, one worships the sun god. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So, Bhulok, and as we know, above Bhulok is Bhuvarlok, Bhuvar, and Swarglok, Swar. Yeah, those are the 3 loks. And then what are the loks above that? Remember? So they're like 6 loks above the Bhu, right? But Bhuvar, Swar. And if you remember, right, there's a Jan lok, there's a Tap lok, right? And there's a Brahma lok is the highest lok, Satya lok, right? So those are the planetary systems. And, interesting thing is by chanting the Gayatri Mantra, one worships the sun god is also mentioned, right? So this is how Bhumandal is divided into 7 islands. So Hare Krishna, Tarun.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Jambu Plaksha Salmali Kusha Krunyaksha Sakha Pushkara Samjanas Tesam Parimanam Purvamad Uttara Uttaro Yatha Sankyam Dviguna Manena Bahihi Samantata Upakalpatah. The names of the islands are Jambu, Plaksha, Salmali, Kusha, Kronacha, Sakha, and Pushkara. Each island is twice as large as the one preceding it, and each is surrounded by a liquid substance, beyond which is the next island. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So you see how the name of the 7 islands were given at that point in time. And and says that the ocean in each planetary system has a different type of liquid. How they are situated is explained in the next verse. Yeah. Rinaji?
क्षारो देक्षुर सुरोध घृतोद क्षीरोदद धिमंडोद शुद्धोदा सप्त जलधय सप्त द्वीप परिखा इवाभ्यंतर द्वीप समाना एकैक क्षेन यथानुपूर्वं सप्त स्वपे बहिर्द्वीपेषु पृथक् परित उपकल्पितास्तेषु जम्बुआदिषु बहिर्ष्मते पतिर्नुव्रता पतिर्नुव्रता आत्मजान जानाग्नि द्रेमज्वियज्ञ बाहुर्हिरण्यते हिरण्यरेतु धृतपिष्ठ मेधाति थी वीति होत्र संज्ञान यथा संख्येनैक अस्मिन्नेक मेवाधिपतिं विदधे. The 7 oceans respectively contain salt water, sugarcane juice, liquor, clarified butter, milk, emulsified yogurt, and sweet drinking water. All the islands are completely surrounded by these oceans, and each ocean is equal in breadth to the island it surrounds. Mahārāja Priyavrata, the husband of Queen Bahirshmati, gave sovereignty over these islands to his respective sons, namely Agnidra, Idmajeva, Yagnabahu, Hiranyareta, Ghritaprastha, Medhatithi, and Vitihotra. Thus they all became king by the order of their father. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so as we know, like, so who is speaking right now? To whom? Yeah, who is telling the Srimad Bhagavatam right now? Right? Is, as we read, like Sukdev Goswamiji is explaining it to Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah, Sukdev Goswami is explaining to Parikshit Maharaj. And then we were reading earlier that Maharaj Priyavrata had 10 sons, right? And a daughter from Queen Mahārāja. And then the 3 sons were totally brahmacharis, and the other 7 sons, right? They became king of all these different islands, is what is mentioned here, right? We are reading the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Yeah. Duhitaram chorjashvatim namo shanse prayacha shamasid devyani nam kaveshata. King Priyavrata then gave his daughter Urjashvati in marriage to Shukracharya, who begot in her a daughter named Devyani. Okay. This Ajay?
Nevam vidha पुरस्कार उरुक्रमस्य पुंसा तदंग धृजसा जितषद्गुणानां चित्रं विदूरविगतः सकृदादीयन्ना मधेय मधुना स जहाति बंधम. My dear king, a devotee who has taken shelter of the dust from the lotus feet of Lord can transcend the influence of 6 material waves, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death, and he can conquer the mind and 5 senses. However, this is not very wonderful for a pure devotee of the Lord, because even a person beyond the jurisdiction of the four castes, in other words, an untouchable, is immediately relieved bondage to material existence if he utters the holy name of Lord even once. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My dear king, that is what Sukdev Goswamiji is saying to King Parikshit Maharaj. Yeah. That a devotee who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord can get through the 6 material waves, right? He can control all these things, hunger, thirst, lamentation, all that, and can conquer the mind and 5 senses. Yeah, those are the 6 things. What are the 5 senses? Karmendriya, Gyanendriya. Which are the 5 Gyanendriyas? Your eyes, right?
Eyes, ear, nose, skin.
Yeah, and tongue.
Tongue.
Right, tongue is the most important one, sense. Eating food, can you control that, right? So conquer that. So is what is mentioned here. And let's just read this part, Tarun.
Since the Supreme Lord is all powerful, he can do things that seem wonderful for a common man. Similarly, a devotee who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord can also do wonderful things unimaginable to a common man by the grace of the dust of those lotus feet. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore teaches us to take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Ai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Visame Bhavam Budahu Kripya Tava Pada Pankaja Sita Dhuli Sadrasham Vichintaya. O son of Nanda Mahāṛāja, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Lord Chaitanya teaches us to come in touch with the dust of the Lord's lotus feet, for then there will be undoubtedly be all success. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, basically, like increase our devotional service. Yeah. Rinaji.
स एवं परिमित बल पराक्रम एकदा तु देवर्षि चरणानु शयनानुपति गुण विसर्ग संसर्गेणानिवृत्त मानम मन्यमान आत्मनिर्वेद इदमाह. While enjoying his material opulences with full strength and influence, Mahārāja Priyavrata once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great saint Narad and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness, he had somehow become again entangled in material activities. Thus his mind now became restless and he began to speak in a spirit of renunciation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so as we know, Maharaj Priyavrata was total pure devotee. He didn't want this kingdom. But Lord Brahma, with the request of Shambhu Manu, came and requested Maharaj Priyavrata to take on this kingdom. Once he took on this kingdom, he became entangled into the material activities. And now he has become restless and he is now in the spirit of renunciation. So is what we are looking at. Okay. Ajay?
Sure. पर देवता प्रसाद दिगात्म प्रत्यवमर्शेनानुप्रवृत्तेभ्यः पुत्रेभ्य इमा यथादायं विभज्य भुक्तभोगां च महिषी मृतकमिव सह विभूतिं पहाय स्वयं निहृत निर्वेदो हृदि गृहीत हरि विहारिनुभावो Bhagavato Naradasya Padvi Punrevanu Sasar. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mahārāja Priyavrata reawakened to his senses. He divided all his earthly possessions among all his obedient sons. He gave up everything, including his wife, with whom he had enjoyed so much sense gratification, and his great and opulent kingdom, and he completely renounced all attachment. His heart, having been cleansed, became a place of pastimes for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus he was able to return to the path of Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, and resume the position he had attained by the grace of great Saint Narada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So King Priyavrata, with the request of Lord Brahma, expanded the universe, right? He got 10 sons, 13 sons, and a daughter, right? He ruled the kingdom for quite some time, and then he realized like he needs to now go back to Godhead. So he reawakened to his senses, and then he gave away all his earthly possessions among his sons, and then returned to the path of Krishna consciousness, is what is being mentioned here. And sent Narad, right? Narad Muni was the guru of Maharaj Priyavrata.
तस्यः वा एते श्लोकाः प्रियव्रता कृतं कर्म को नु कुर्यात् विनेश्वरं यो नेमि नेर् अकारो क्षयं ध्यानं सप्ता varidhin din. There are many famous verses regarding Mahārāja Priyavrata's activities.
You can also read the purport.
Okay. No one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Mahārāja Priyavrata has done. Mahārāja Priyavrata dissipated the darkness of night, and with the rims of his great chariot, he excavated 7 oceans. There are many excellent verses, famous all over the world, concerning the activities of Mahārāja Priyavrata. He is so celebrated that his activities are compared to those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes a sincere servant and devotee of the Lord is also called Bhagwan. Sri Narada is called Bhagwan, and Lord Shiva and Vasudeva are also sometimes called Bhagwan. This designation, Bhagwan, is sometimes conferred upon a pure devotee by the grace of the Lord, so that he will be very highly esteemed. Mahārāja Priyavrata was such a devotee. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what we are reading is about the activities of Mahārāja Priyavrata, right? So Hare Krishna, Sachin.
Hare Krishna, guys. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Sansthanam kritam yena saridni dhriva nadibhihi sima cha bhuta nivrutyai dvipe vibhagashah. To stop the quarreling among different peoples, Mahārāja Priyavrata marked boundaries at the rivers and at the edges of the mountains and forests so that no one would trespass upon another's property. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ajay?
Sure. Bhaumam divyam manusham cha mahitvam karma yogajam yashva chakre niryopamyam purushanujan priya. As a great follower and devotee of the sage Narada, Mahārāja Priyavrata considered hellish the opulence he had achieved by dint of fruitive activities and mystic power, whether in the lower or heavenly planetary systems or in human society. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. And we'll just read this part. Rinaji.
Srila Rupa Goswami has said that the position of a devotee is so super excellent that a devotee does not consider any material opulence worth having. There are different types of opulences on earth, in the heavenly planets, and even in the lower planetary system known as Patal. A devotee, however, knows that they are all material, and consequently he is not at all interested in them. As is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Param Dristva Nivartate. Sometimes yogis and jnanis voluntarily give up all material opulences to practice their system of liberation and taste spiritual bliss. However, they frequently fall down because artificial renunciation of material opulences cannot endure. One must have a superior taste in spiritual life, then he can give up material opulence. Mahārāja Priyavrata had already tasted spiritual bliss, and therefore he had no interest in any of the material achievements available in the lower, higher, or middle planetary systems. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so that's the story of Maharaj Priyavrata, son of Shambhu Manu. Yeah, and this ends the Bhakti Vedanta purpose to the 5th canto, 1st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yeah, so we complete chapter 1, and yeah, maybe let's continue reading the chapter 2. So the chapter 2 is about the activities of Maharaj Agnidhar. Yeah, and Maharaj Agnidhar is son of Maharaj Priyavrata. And that's what we are reading right now in this particular canto. Yeah, so let's read this Tarun.
In this chapter, the character of Mahāraja Agnidhara is described. When Maharaj Priyavrata went off for spiritual realization, his son Agnidhara became the ruler of Jambudvipa in accordance with Mahāraja Priyavrata's instructions, and maintained his residence with the same affection a father feels for his sons. Once Maharaj Agnidhara desired to have a son, and therefore he entered a cave of Mandara mountain to practice austerity. Understanding his desire, Lord Brahma sent a celestial girl named Purvachitti to Agnidhara's hermitage. After dressing herself very attractively, she presented herself before him with various feminine movements, and Agnidhara was naturally attracted to her. The girl's actions, expressions, smiles, sweet words, and moving eyes were fascinating to him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Agnidhara was expert in flattery. Thus he attracted the celestial girl, who was pleased to accept him as her husband because of his mellifluous words. He enjoyed royal happiness with Agnidhara. She enjoyed royal happiness with Agnidhara for many years before returning to her abode in the heavenly planets. In her womb, Agnidhara begot 9 sons: Nabhi, Kimpurusha, Harivarsha, Ilavrata, Ramyaka, Hiranmaya, Puru, Bhadrashva, and Ketumana. He gave them 9 islands with names corresponding to theirs. Agnidhara, however, his senses unsatisfied, was always thinking of his celestial wife, and therefore in his next life he was born in her celestial planet. After the death of Agnidhara, his 9 sons married 9 daughters of Meru, named Meru Devi, Pratirupa, Ugra Damastri, Lata, Ramya, Shyama, Nari, Bhadra, and Devaviti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So I think see what we are reading is basically how the world was expanding, right? With Maharaj Uttanpad and then Maharaj Priyavrata. And Maharaj Agnidhar is son of Maharaj Priyavrata. So we are now reading about Maharaj Agnidhar. How did he rule the world and how did he expand the world, right? So let's read from the shlok first. Ajay?
Evam पितरि संप्रवृत्ते तदनुशासने वर्तमान आग्निध्रो जम्बूद्वीप फोकसः प्रजा और सवधमार्वेक्षणाम गोपायत. Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, after his father Mahāraja, Priyavrata departed to follow the path of spiritual life by undergoing austerities. King Agnidhar completely obeyed his order. Strictly observing the principles of religion, he gave full protection to the inhabitants of Jambudvip as if they were his own begotten sons. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so Sukadeva Goswami ji continue to tell this to Maharaj Parikshit. Yeah, and this Jambu Dweep was one of the dweeps of the 7 islands, right? Created by the chariot of Maharaj Priyavrata. So, Tarun?
Sacha kadachit pitraloka kamaha suravara manita krithachala dronyam bhagavantam vishvasrajam patim abhrata parichayopakarana atmaikagrayena tapasyai aradhyam babuha. Desiring to get a perfect son and become an inhabitant of Pitraloka, Mahāraja Agnidhara once worshipped Lord Brahma, the master of those in charge of material creation. He went to a valley of Mandara hill, where the damsels of the heavenly planets come down to stroll. There he collected garden flowers and other necessary paraphernalia, and then engaged in severe austerities and worship. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so even Maharaj Agnidhar, even to begot a son, he used to go through the austerity and tapasya, right? So, very interesting. Oh. Sachin?
तदुपलभ्य भगवान् आदिपुरुषः सदसि गायन्तीं पूर्वचित्तीं नामास्पर समभियापयामास. Understanding King Agnidhara's desire, the first and most powerful created by being of this universe, Lord Brahma, selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachitti, and sent her to the king. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Reenaji?
सा च तदाश्रमोपवनमतिर्रमणीयं विविधनि विविटपनिकर श्रेष्ठ पुरटल तारूढ़ स्थल विहंगम मिथुनेः प्रोच्यमान श्रुतिभिः प्रतिबोध्यमान सलिल कुक्कुट कारण्डवकल हंसादि बिरविचित्र मुपुकुजित मल जलाशयक कमलाकर करमुप बभ्राम. The Apsara sent by Lord Brahma began strolling in a beautiful park near the place where the king was meditating and worshipping. The park was beautiful because of its dense green foliage and golden creepers. There were pairs of varied birds such as peacocks, and in a lake there were ducks and swans, all vibrating very sweet sounds. Thus the park was magnificently beautiful because of the foliage, the clear water, the lotus flowers, and the sweet singing of various kinds of birds. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. तस्याः सुललित गमन पद विन्यास गति विलासायाक्षानुपदम खनखनायमान रूप चिरचरण भरण स्वन्मुखाकरण्य नरदेव कुमार है Samadhi yoge namilit nanan lin mukul yugal mishadvi kaccha yaschastah. As Purvachiti passed by on the road in a very beautiful style and mood of her own, the pleasing ornaments on her ankles tinkled with her every step. Although Prince Agnidhar was controlling his senses, practicing yoga with half open eyes, he could see her with his lotus like eyes. And when he heard the sweet tingling of her bangles, he opened his eyes slightly more and could see that she was just nearby. Sachin? Sachin, you unmute.
Yeah, sorry. तामेवा विदुरे मधुकरीमिव सुमनस उपजिघ्रन्तीं दिविज मनुजा दिविज मनुजा जमनो न नयना राद दुगैर्गतिर् विहार व्रीडवि विनाय वलोक सुस्वरा साक्षरा वैर्मनसि नृणां कुसुम युधस्य विदधतीं विवरं निजमुख विगल 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 विगलितामृता सहास भाषाणां मोद मदान्धम धुकर निकरो परोधेन दूत पद विनन्यासेन विलग्गुस्पन्द नस्तनकलश कबर भार रशनां देवीं लोकनेन विवृता वरस्य भगवतो मकरध्वजस्य वशमु पनीतो जडवदीति होवाच. Like a honeybee, the Apsara smelled the beautiful and attractive flowers. She could attract the minds and vision of both humans and demigods by her playful movements, her shyness and humility, her glances, the very pleasing sounds that poured from her mouth as she spoke, and the motion of her limbs. By all these qualities, she opened for Cupid, who bears an arrow of flowers, a path of oral reception into the minds of men. When she spoke, nectar seemed to flow from her mouth. As she breathed, the bees, mad for the test of her breath, tried to hover around her beautiful lotus-like eyes. Disturbed by the bees, she tried to move hastily, but as she raised her feet to walk quickly, her hair, the belt on her hips, and her breasts, which were like water jugs, also moved in a way that made her extremely beautiful and attractive. Indeed, she seemed to be making a path for the entrance of Cupid, who is most powerful. Therefore, the prince, completely subdued by seeing her, spoke to her as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? Shloka Ajay.
Pratam चिकीर्षसि च कि मुनिवर्यं शैले मायासि कपि भगवत् परदेवतायाः विजये विभर्षि धनुषि सुहृदात्मनो अर्थिके वा मृगेण विपिने प्रमतान्. The prince mistakenly addressed the Apsara, "O best of saintly person, who are you? Why you are on the hill, and what do you want to do? Are you one of the illusory potencies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? You seem to be carrying two bows without strings. What is the reason you carry these bows?" Is it for some purpose of your own or for the sake of a friend? Perhaps you carry them to kill the mad animal in this forest. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So then Prince is addressing the Apsara. And I think we'll pause here. We must close. And we'll continue reading about Mahārāja Agnidhar this week. Yeah. So let's pause and happy Ekadasi to everyone. Today is actually Ekadasi.
Happy Ekadashi.
Yeah. It's a very auspicious day. Read Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we'll do the Kirtan. We'll see the Kirtan for 5 minutes. Yeah. And then we'll see you tomorrow again. So it's a Kirtan at one of the locations where all the people gathered and did the Kirtan, right? So we'll just watch that.
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So it's like a Rath Yatra in one of the, I think, Eastern European countries. And actually, it's a season of Rath Yatra now coming up in June, July, right? We'll see a lot of Rath Yatras. I think June 8th to 10th is in New York. It's also very popular, actually. So there's a New York Rath Yatra, June 8th to 10th. And actually, there'll be a bus going from Raleigh to New York just to attend this Rath Yatra. If you get a chance, you should go to Manhattan and attend this. It's really huge. I mean, it's really nice. But anyways, so we'll see you tomorrow again at 10 p.m. Yeah?
Sure.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.